It's Wednesday, November 6th, 2019. Digital Trends Live is about to start. Here are some of the topics we'll be covering today. The electric vehicle race picked up a new competitor at the SEMA trade show in Las Vegas, with Ford unveiling a Mustang-inspired electric car that includes a manual transmission. And we'll be joined by Aaron Colight, the showrunner and co-creator of one of Netflix's most recent series, Daybreak. We'll talk about the inspiration for the post-apocalyptic LA-based show. Our own Drew Prindle will be on to talk about the latest release from DJI with the Mavic Mini, and we'll have an in-studio demonstration of the drone that flies just under the FAA regulations. And we'll, of course, talk about some robots, including a new plan to use a collaborative team of an autonomous robot and sandbag-dropping drone to help disable and remove landmines. It could also be a new Pixar show for Disney+. All of that and more coming up on Digital Trends Live. Hello, this is Digital Trends Live, and this is our buddy duo right here. Thank you for joining us. We do broadcast live here every single weekday, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, bringing you tech headlines, news, interviews, and discussions, and so much more. And of course, we are in the Samsung QLED 4K studio, broadcasting live across a number of different platforms. We're on Periscope, Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Dailymotion, Apple News, 2 different mobile apps, a smart television app, and at digitaltrends.com/live. So wherever you're finding us, joining the conversation. This is interactive. We want to see what you have to say. We may agree with it, we may not, but we do want to see it. So drop those comments in. Well, let's get the show started right now. I'm Greg Nibbler, and it is so nice to have in studio the editor-in-chief of Digital Trends. We have Jeremy Kaplan. Hello.
Hello, and it's a pleasure to be here, the sidekick for you.
Yes.
A role I've always wanted to fulfill, and I'm here for you.
I'm just so used to tossing to you in New York and just seeing you on a tiny screen. It is nice.
It's a lot more fun to be
Yeah,
here.
I can toss to Jeremy, and he's right here. Well, we have a lot to talk about, but we do have some breaking news that actually just came out right before.
We just saw this.
Yeah, right before we went on air, and so we just wanted to address this really quick. It has to do with Elon Musk posting a Twitter post about his Cybertruck, because that's what they're calling their, the truck that they have been talking about forever, the electric vehicle, the electric truck that Elon has been bringing up for a long time, but now finally this is what it is. So unveiling on November 21st in LA near the SpaceX rocket factory.
This is interesting because this gets to the heart of some of the transformation that's going on in the car industry. It's fun to talk about autonomous cars. It's fun to think what's going to happen when I'm able to drive one. The reality is you, me, Greg, us, we are not going to drive autonomous cars for quite a while. There's a lot of work to be done to actually develop them.
Yeah.
But trucks are an easy one to win, right?
Right.
Long distance hauling, very easy to replicate that and replace it with autonomous vehicles.
Yeah, and I think this is going to be, I'm actually kind of surprised they're doing it this quickly, because I know Rivian's had theirs. You have Ford that's coming out with their EF-150. I guess I don't know what exactly they'll call it, but essentially that's what it is. At some point possibly next year. So he is getting in at the right time. You have to wonder if this feels a little bit rushed, whether it's just in response and whether it's actually going to go on sale, or they're just going to show some more fancy images of it. Like, what does he mean by an unveiling, I guess? And that's part of what I really want to get to the bottom of, but November 21st, that's when it's going to be coming out.
Look, Americans love trucks.
Yes.
Right? So getting some sort of a truck thing, electric, autonomous, whatever you can do, it's very important. So Elon coming out with this is a huge move for him.
Yeah.
There's only so much space you can get in cars as well. So,
Right. Yeah.
Easy one.
So we'll have to see where it goes. And we do have some more electric vehicles to talk about here coming up in just a minute, something else from Ford. But that is the news from Elon Musk. We'll be covering that at Digital Trends, so we'll let you know everything that we know. I believe you said our own Adam Kasikowski is going to be there.
Yeah, he is.
So perfect.
Until November 21st.
So we'll have somebody there on the ground covering what is going on with that. But it's exciting. The electric vehicle race is exciting. That's why tech is exciting, seeing these innovations and who pushes who further. And Elon's definitely in the mix with all of that, with Tesla and now a Cybertruck. The name is still a little bit questionable, but that's what he's going with.
I'd rather have a Cybertruck than a truck.
That's true. Cybertruck.
That's just me. I'm one of those people.
So we've got some other news to talk about here. Let's get to another trending story, and this is something that's been developing over a long time, and it's finally reaching some of these final hurdles, and it has to do with T-Mobile and Sprint merging, creating one giant carrier between the two of them to go up against Verizon and AT&T, essentially giving us 3 major carriers at that point. I really want to know your thoughts on this. So I guess I'll give everybody what happened. So it had reached FCC approval generally already, but now the official vote went through, and so that's what kind of happened with this. So it's one of those last hurdles. There's still a little bit of an issue with some lawsuits, but we'll talk about that here in a minute. As far as the merger itself, though, how do you feel this? Do you feel this is good or bad, I guess, when it comes for consumers?
Well, it's hard to tell at this stage, of course.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's good or bad for consumers comes down to that paycheck. I mean, I'm sorry,
Right.
to the bill they send you.
Yeah.
If your bill goes up because of a merger, not good.
Yeah.
You know, if it actually stays where it is, good. In terms of the actual merger, though, the big thing here to me seems to be about 5G, right? Because T-Mobile is this huge player when it comes to the low-band spectrum.
Yep.
Sprint is this massive player when it comes to mid-band spectrum. These, I think, are better solutions than some of the very advanced high-band spectrum, which is going to take a lot of work to evolve. That's
Right.
the mesh network stuff. You've got a lot of little receivers in cities. It feels almost like it's going to require some clutter in cities to get that kind of a
Yeah.
network established.
Yeah,
But-
because that broadcast range is just so small with each one of those, right?
Exactly, which is why when we've been testing in places like Chicago and Detroit and wherever, if you're underneath the beacon, you got great reception. If you take a couple steps to the side, doesn't work.
Right.
So a merger between T-Mobile and Sprint could potentially bring a really robust 5G network very quickly to the U.S., and I think that's what the FCC is responding to.
Yeah, I mean, and if that's the case, if it does bring that, I mean, 5G, we've talked about that a lot here. I mean, everybody does. When it does finally come out and it's widespread, it's going to change everything. But there's all these steps that have to happen in order to get there. So yeah, if this merger does help further that advancement, that's great. The price thing, as far as what you're talking about, I know some people are definitely concerned about that, about going down to only 3 major carriers. There is a bit of a stipulation that
Let's almost call it, if we could, let's call it 2.5, because there's
Right.
still going to be even the merger between these two companies leaves one that's still far behind AT&T.
Yeah, and that shows how big AT&T Verizon are. I mean, they really do dominate. I mean, AT&T just alone, just with Time Warner and all of that. But yeah, so you'd have 2.5 carriers. There was part of it where T-Mobile, I believe it's T-Mobile or Sprint, and I have to get the details right. One of them, or a combination thereof, had to sell some of their capacity to Dish to help kind of create a fourth one, although Dish would be way, way behind.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and to where it wouldn't really be a competitor. I think part of it was for their low cost, essentially burner phones. If we want to use that name, I'm going to use that name. So, but yeah, that's essentially what it is. I watched The Wire recently, I guess.
That's where I go for my burner phones.
Exactly, it's for your burner phones. But that's a market that does have to be there, and so I guess that's part of what Dish would be providing. So the details are a little bit murky on that part of it. But this is one more thing. Now there are those lawsuits. And those are pretty big. It's a bunch of different states' attorneys generals were suing them for, I don't even remember exactly what the lawsuit was about, but basically to stop the merger, as far as the details on that. And there's a bunch of them that have dropped out, but I think there's still 17 states that have lawsuits pending against them.
Well, that's going to be a big obstacle here.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if the FCC says, go ahead, we've been talking about this for 2-3 years at this
So
point.
long.
So it's nice to just finally say, let's go ahead. It's going to be good. The 5G thing, it's going to be good.
Yeah.
Let's just do it.
You're gonna love the 5G.
You're going to love the 5G.
Well, that's what we're seeing with that, and we've got all the details that you need at that Digital Trends. Of course, we're covering this extensively. You can go back and read it from the very beginning all the way up to now, and catch up on the whole novel of T-Mobile and Sprint and where we're at right now. But it is a constantly evolving story, so check that out there. Let's go to another trending story. It has to do with Facebook. Facebook, once again, there's barely a day that we go by without talking about Facebook, but they are in the news this time for something that they may be instituting to help identify users when you're using their app, and that is facial recognition. Facebook wants to have you identify yourself through Face ID. How do we feel about that?
Oh, gosh. Oh, gosh. What can you say to Facebook? Look, I've been using the new iPhone, the 11 Pro here.
Nice.
Which is a great phone. It's got face recognition. It lets me log into apps and services and whatnot. Very smartly, very easily, works like a charm. Do I want that from Facebook? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
I think Facebook should just sit down and be quiet. And we're all happy to just keep them out of the news. Even if this is a good idea, it's like just stay over there and be
Right.
quiet.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point. Like, this may be, a smart, if this was another app that's doing it, like, okay, it probably wouldn't even be that big of news. But the fact that it's Facebook, and it seems like they just can't get away from just putting their foot in their mouth so much with these kinds of announcements. Because, like you said, yeah, it could be a really good thing, but marketing-wise from Facebook, nobody wants this.
Nobody wants this.
Yeah.
And as soon as Facebook does something like this, well, there's going to be some privacy concerns. Are you storing my identity in some
Yeah.
weird way? The things that I wouldn't ask of any other company, we readily assume Facebook is doing, and let's be honest, they probably are.
Right.
And we're going to learn about it 2 years from now, and we're going to be like, why did we let that happen?
Yep. And then
You can just feel this narrative building, right? Isn't that just inevitable?
It's just pre-written. I mean, yeah, it just feels like that is. And this goes in conjunction with some more announcements they made yesterday about rebranding. They've come up with a way that they want to separate the Facebook main brand from the Facebook app by putting Facebook on all their other apps. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, and this is what they're doing. So you're going to start seeing it on Instagram and WhatsApp, because we all know it's Instagram by Facebook and WhatsApp by Facebook, and now that's going to start showing up too, which also seems like not the best marketing move they could make.
You were saying this before, and it's a great point. A lot of people either willfully ignore the fact that Facebook owns Instagram, or maybe don't actually know.
Yeah.
So going out of your way to highlight, oh, that app that you hate over there, Facebook, they own that app that you like. Why would you underscore that?
Yeah, it just doesn't seem right. Well, and that was something actually you said before, was they just need a picture of Mark Zuckerberg popping up every time, like, hey, hi, I own this too. but it's an interesting move. We'll have to see if they do it, but that's what the rumors are, the reports are right now, that Facebook wants to put in self-ID on that. So let us know what you think about that. Again, we are broadcasting live. I do want to see your comments, so we'll make sure that we follow along with those.
Yeah,
too.
I'm very curious to hear what everyone watching thinks about this, because we have some very strong opinions here, but maybe you still like Facebook, maybe you find this a good idea. It is going to be an easier way to log in. That's the whole point, and
maybe that's worth
makes
it.
Sense.
Maybe that's worth it. You know, the fact that you don't have to type in your code, you can just look, and maybe you'll.
Who knows?
Maybe that's what you want. Well, Zuckerberg will be taking a look at those. All right, let's continue on with some other trending news.
I'm just thinking, I have $20, Mark. If you want to come over here and take it, I'll just hand you some more money. That'd be fine.
Here it is. I know you've had a
take
rough go of it. Let's talk about, as we're broadcasting live on Facebook, let's talk about going back to electric vehicles. So we mentioned at the top of the show that Elon Musk announced that the Cybertruck unveiling is going to be on November 21st at the SpaceX facility or near it. But Ford actually announced something at the SEMA trade show in Las Vegas, and that is a Mustang-inspired electric vehicle. This is something we'd heard about for a while, that they were going to be doing this, but now we finally got to take a look at it. It looks very much Mustang-like. And they said Mustang-inspired, not Mustang-based, and this is based on one of our articles as well, because it is in conjunction with Blue Oval, so another team that's actually worked on this too. It's called the Lithium. And it looks like a sports car.
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely got that feel.
Looks great.
And that's, I think, it's definitely something that they're going for. And as we see electric vehicles more and more be adopted by different auto manufacturers, I think that traditional look is going to be a big selling point for a lot of the marketplace. But what do you think?
Well, if I can just make a quick explanation. I was talking earlier about autonomous vehicles and fleet trucks. I think I was conflating two different projects from within
Tesla.
within Tesla. I think the Cybertruck is an electric truck.
Right.
And not a fleet
semi
truck thing, which they are also planning on working on.
Yep.
A lot of big projects in the car world. Look, everyone knows that Teslas accelerate like crazy. You've all seen the video of people getting in them and going, as it just tears off down the road. So putting that into a sports car, on the one hand, that makes an awful lot of sense. On the other hand, people love Mustangs. And I'm kind of thinking to myself, do people want this? Don't people love the 2 miles per gallon grunt of a gasoline engine? Isn't that part of the fun of being in a Mustang?
And that's one of those markets, just like the truck drivers, the pickup truck drivers, and muscle car drivers. I mean, convincing them to switch over to an electric vehicle, I think you've got a really good point there of, they like that gasoline burning feel to it. And that's another thing I would be curious, for people out there watching, is this, even if this car is amazing, it's still not quite the same. Now, they did say they're going to institute some kind of software to mimic the feel of it, so it's going to have like some rumbling to it.
Which makes sense.
And they'd have to put in the sounds too, because it's not going to make many sounds.
And all of this feels like taking us a few steps away from what people really want, which is just gas burning fun.
Yeah.
Right?
It's true. I mean, there is something fun about that.
And let's be clear, that's one of the challenges that electric vehicles and self-driving vehicles are really going to face, that some of the time, driving your car is a blast. That's why we drive cars. Some of the times you get in the highway and you're like, what am I doing with my life for the next 3 hours? I'm driving a car. I'd rather have the car do it. But sometimes you get in and you want to shift it into second and really muscle through a hill.
Yeah.
And that's a blast.
Right. It is. It is. So that's.
Does electric take away from that? It's up to how well they implement this is really going to decide that.
It does have 900 horsepower. So the horsepower, yeah, is pretty strong on that.
Are those Shetlands, or are we talking some thoroughbreds here? Do we have
Not
details
sure.
on
that? We don't have the specifications.
We'll get the specs on the horse.
Adam Koskowski, please let us know. That's what we're seeing though with it. It's got, of course, then all the high tech that you want, touch screens and everything else that would come along with that. But yeah, that's what we're looking at with this. So again, Ford announcing this Mustang-like vehicle. It looks just like a Mustang. They just don't want to put Mustang on it apparently. But that's what's coming out with that. So let us know how you feel about that. I know we're running up onto our break, but we do have one more topic we want to get to. The space race is something. If you watch this show, you know I love talking about it because I think it's so exciting with SpaceX, but they're not the only ones in this game. There's a lot of other companies working on that, including Boeing with their Starliner project, which is very similar, and they're in the race for this. And both companies, SpaceX earlier this week tested the escape capabilities of their capsule, while Starliner did the same thing, and that was on late Monday. So this would be the same idea. This capsule would take astronauts to the space station, but this safety aspect is huge to where it would rocket off of the rocket. So say something went wrong with the rocket. This would blast off at 650 miles per hour. It'd get up to that in 5 seconds, shooting away from the exploding rocket.
That is terrifying.
It's terrifying, although it's better than blowing up in a rocket, I suppose.
And then the thing that saves you is some parachutes. Also terrifying.
Right? It seems like such low tech when it comes down to it, but that's what they're looking at. And so they tested this out. Each one has a 3 parachute plan, although Boeing's, their Starliner, only 2 of the parachutes actually deployed. One didn't. So that was the competition there with SpaceX.
So a more or less successful test in spite of one of the parachutes failing. I think the takeaway here is if you look big picture, the transformation that's gone on at NASA into the embracing of private industry, 100% successful, 100% the right move for NASA to make. We've seen companies like SpaceX and Boeing really taking off, and it's because of these small grants and milestones that get achieved. We've really been able to do a lot here as a country.
Yeah.
And there's always this debate like, oh, we went to the moon way back in the day, despite what people think we actually did do that. And can we do that again today? Well, maybe we can't right this second, but it's small pilot things like this. It's small private companies that are going to get us there.
Yeah, that have
hats
the
off,
funding.
Boeing, great work.
And figuring out how to do it, cheaper. That's one of those huge other goals too. Because once you get that price down, I mean, I'm excited for it. I think it's really exciting. And clearly we need to do Digital Trends live from the space station. That's what I'm just going to keep on putting that out there until it happens.
Or in a capsule, falling back to Earth at 650
miles per hour. I will not be, the words that come out of my mouth at 650 miles per hour probably won't be family
I'm picturing
friendly.
the gleam of terror in my eyes. We'll be right back after we all die.
All right, well, that's what we've got for the trending news. So take a look. Digital Trends keeps you up to date all day long. I know we need to get to our break because we're going to come back. We've got some Read 'em and Weep, where we take a look at some trending topics from around the internet and, of course, on our articles here at Digital Trends. So stick around. Back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live.
Apollo 11, your go for separation.
TV is making history again. The groundbreaking Samsung QLED 8K.
Welcome back to Digital Trends Live. Thank you for joining us again. We are live. We are interactive. We can take your comments. And we're going to talk about comments.
Interactive.
Right now. See? Look at that. That wasn't planned. That just happened right now. I'm Greg Nibbler here with Jeremy Kaplan. It's time for Read 'em and Weep. This is where we take a look at some of the comments that are coming through across the web. We do not see these until you see them right now. We're seeing it at the same time. We will react. Kiara, 36 years ago today, Will Byers disappeared. Stranger Things Day. Okay, it is. You know what? I didn't realize that it's November 6, 1983 in Hawkins, Indiana.
I saw that they had tweeted that Stranger Things Day was coming up, but I forgot that it was today.
Brilliant on Stranger Things' part to create a day out of it, out of the day that Will Byers disappeared.
It makes sense.
It's smart.
It's a good thing.
It's smart. Well, here's hoping to his safe return. I think. Well, wait a minute. No, I've seen season 3. I know where it is. All right, Honolulu. Regarding turnaround, look at what you see in your face, the mirror of your dreams. We're gonna see what you see in her face, the mirror of your dreams. Stranger Things Day. Okay, now I'm getting flack just from the production booth right now. They're like, you should know it's the song when I'm just cold reading a flat sentence. Turn around. There it is. Okay, Jeremy, if you want to sing it, you're more than welcome.
Absolutely not. But I will sing plenty of things in a few minutes.
Okay, all right, well there it is.
That's just not in my key.
Oh, that's true. Well, all right, that's fair enough. I mean, come on. I mean, we can't put them into a key. It's not. All right, say it ain't so. All right, Fortnite. Doesn't this stuff only happen in movies and comic books? To celebrate Stranger Things Day, the Chief, Hopper, and Demogorgon outfits are back in the item shop now. I don't want to see the person in the Demogorgon outfit.
No, that's just terrifying.
No, that doesn't sound fun.
Also, is it like 40 feet tall?
Yeah, I know. Okay, it's in Fortnite, but still.
Still,
I don't want to see that. Yeah.
I would rather be in a capsule plummeting 650 miles an hour. No, I would not. That's not true.
Yeah. Either way. Well, Fortnite fans, there you go. You can pick up your Demogorgon and Chief Hopper outfits right now to celebrate Stranger Things Day. Wow, it is all Stranger Things on the internet today.
It's Stranger Things Day.
It's Stranger Things. It's a Stranger Things world, and we're all just living in it. All right, Fortnite. Thank you for that. As we go through here, taking a look at comments, and we do have a live one. LOL, Greg clearly does not know Stranger Things. Sad. Thank you, Keelan. This is where we get our ban button out, and we'll make sure that we have that taken care of. All right, I got it. I can take it. Glenda, regarding robotics companies offering $125,000 if you let a robot use your face. I'd do it for that and be happy forever knowing that when I die, my enemies will see my face everywhere. All right, I like that approach.
I like that approach too. And also, Glenda, how many enemies have you got, really?
All of them.
We can help solve this for you.
See, I was more worried about it, like, when the impending robot revolution, which is clearly going to happen, where they attack us all, then they would all look like me if it was my face, and how would I convince other humans I'm actually human?
Ooh,
yeah.
I like where you went there.
I mean, who would believe me?
Yeah.
Because all the robots would just say, like, no, I'm Greg.
Would the real Greg Nibbler please stand up? And then all the robots stand up and you're like, no, I am the real one.
Yeah, and how do I convince? I mean, it's really going to be a big issue.
Did you see Blade Runner?
Oh,
We have to have that test thing with the...
There's a whole thing. And I don't want to run forever. I give up. All right, Lewis, regarding breaking, Facebook wants you to take a selfie in order to verify your identity. Well, it would be time to say goodbye to Facebook. I'm gonna guess that's opinions of a lot of people. Although it seems like so many people say that, and then do they ever really leave?
Oh my God, that's the thing about Facebook is everyone complains and nobody changes their attitudes.
Yeah. I mean,
Lewis, I'm with you 100%. It is time to say goodbye to Facebook. We don't like them anymore.
Right.
You know what's good is Instagram. You should go check out Instagram. Completely different
That's
platform.
a fun one, yeah. I see so many people, I feel like, that will post to make these grand things like, that's it, I'm leaving Facebook. And then a month later, I'm back on Facebook.
Of course.
They all come back. This is what Mark Zuckerberg has done. The world's greatest drug. All right, MJ Majoris, regarding breaking, Facebook wants you to take a selfie in order to verify your identity. Are you kidding? What the hell is going on? Yeah. Also appropriate.
That is 100% appropriate.
Yeah. Posted on Twitter.
That's the skepticism that we're going to see from a lot of people, and it's completely founded.
Yeah. And it's still going to happen, though.
They need to earn our trust back, and it's not by making announcements like this. It's by being quiet and sitting in the corner and letting us just use their service.
Right.
We're happy for you to make money off us. Just be quiet.
Yeah, just don't say anything about it. Everybody will forget, and you just continue on and make billions. Yeah, there it is. Well, clearly, we've got it worked out. So, Zuckerberg, if you want to come over here on the show, we can help you.
We've got plenty of business tips for you, Mark.
All right, Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to Digital Trends Live. I know that we need to get going because we have guests coming up. We have some great interviews. And actually, our next one is something I'm really looking forward to. We have Aaron Colite, who's the co-creator of Daybreak on Netflix. This is a huge show that's on Netflix right now. We're going to be talking to him about the series, about some of the inspirations behind it, and a new podcast series that's actually debuting that was just announced yesterday, based off the show. Yeah, really cool marketing idea, really cool storytelling idea. So we'll be discussing that. But before we go to break, we need to say thank you to Mr. Jeremy Kaplan. Thank you.
That's it?
That's it.
Okay. Hey, you're welcome.
I was going to sing, but then I felt it was inappropriate.
Turn around.
Sing us to break.
That's all I got.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for tuning in. So follow along with all those stories that we've got at Digital Trends. Stay up to date with all the news. We've got more coming up. Back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. Turn around.
Apollo 11, your go for separation.
TV is making history again. The groundbreaking Samsung QLED 8K.
Welcome back to Digital Trends Live. We are live every single day, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, bringing you tech headlines, news, interviews, discussions about things that you are doing, about things that you're watching. And that's what we're going to be discussing right now on Netflix. You have surely, if you haven't watched the series, you've definitely seen the trailers for it for Daybreak, one of the brand new series on there. And we have the co-creator joining us right now. We have Aaron Colite. Hello. Thanks so much for joining us.
Hey, how are you?
Doing great. Excited to talk to you. The show is really fascinating what you've done with it. And I wanted to talk about just some of the inspiration. It's very post-apocalyptic LA. It's got a little bit of Mad Max to it, it feels like. What was your inspiration for this series?
So there's a lot of inspiration that goes into this series. Not the least of which is Mad Max Fury Road. I think that was the beginning of the conversation, as well as Ferris Bueller's Day Off, which is obviously part of the conversation, and some John Hughes movies. I think the biggest inspiration is actually a really little known movie called Night of the Comet, which I watched probably every afternoon on HBO when I was growing up. It seemed like Beastmaster and Night of the Comet were on HBO every single day. And in Night of the Comet, it was basically like right after Halley's Comet happened, and this comet passes overhead and all the adults die and only the kids are left. And kids do what they would do, which is they go to the mall and they take cars and they take clothes. It had all these elements of wish fulfillment. And I remember watching that going, that's exactly what I would do. I would live my absolute dream life if all the parents left. If there was an apocalypse, I would go get all the coolest shit.
Right.
And that's what I would do. And I often remember like being that kid in class dreaming, I wish kind of the world would end right now because I could start over. I could totally redefine myself. I wouldn't be, the nerd that I was. I would have this opportunity to be the hero of my own story. And I think a lot of people feel that way. And so when Brad Payton and I, my co-creator and the director of the first two episodes, started talking about the show, we had the same shared experience of feeling like, man, it would be great for the apocalypse to happen because then we could be whatever we wanted to be.
Right. You pick out any car you want. That was the
origin of the whole series.
And that's definitely, you definitely get that from watching it. And I want to ask, too, with Matthew Broderick, I mean, clearly with the Ferris Bueller's Day Off, inspiration, some of that in there as well. But how did you get him? How did you approach him for this project?
Well, we wrote the series for him.
Really?
We wrote that. We wrote the role with him completely with him in mind. And it's not only based on Ferris Bueller. We are big fans of Matthew Broderick, from Election to The Freshman, to Glory. Like, he's an amazing actor. So it really wasn't just about Ferris, but certainly the delightful irony that Ferris Bueller grows up to be Principal Rooney was just too delicious not to attempt. We were told, like, he's never going to do it. You can write it for him. He doesn't do television. He's really not going to do this. He doesn't like doing things that are reverential to Ferris. He wants to move on. But he really saw something in the role and kind of playing against type that drew him to it.
That's so great. I mean, I can't imagine anybody ever saying, gosh, I don't like Matthew Broderick. So, I mean, that's just not probably a phrase that's ever been uttered. So
No,
so
never.
awesome.
He's the most likable. He's so likable. He's
Yeah.
so, and to create somebody playing the principal who is that likable, and, I don't want to spoil anything, and there's lots of spoilers out there, but, he gets to take some really fantastic turns in this that help him play against type.
Oh, that's so great. Well, talking about the series in general, and you've worked on so many different series. I mean, Heroes, just to kind of juxtapose it with that being on a network versus some of the streaming services. I feel like we're in this golden age of content for streaming services. As a creator and writer, how does it change what you do knowing that you're writing for a streaming service like Netflix versus something that's on network television?
I mean, a little bit, but not really. Some of the DNA is storytelling is storytelling, and to a certain extent, it doesn't really change. I mean, one of the key lessons that I learned coming out of here, I learned two really important lessons coming out of Heroes. The first is you have to have cliffhangers. The binge experience doesn't change the need to have a really fantastic cliffhanger that'll get you watching the next episode. And that was lessons that I learned from watching Alias or watching Buffy or watching Lost that we certainly transferred over to Heroes. Was you have to keep an audience really engaged. And whether that's in a binge experience or on a week-to-week experience, it's the same kind of manner of storytelling. And the other thing that's really important in how you tell stories is making a vast variety of characters that any audience member can find and relate to. I think that was in the DNA of Heroes, and that certainly transferred to the DNA of Daybreak, that we can create a really wide ensemble that people can have their favorites and talk about them.
I think that's a great point too, because you do have an ensemble cast in this. There's a lot of different people involved, a lot of different storylines you can go off of. And along those lines too, I wanted to talk about the podcast that's going to be launching, which I think is a really interesting storytelling avenue to go from this. I can't think of another one off the top of my head of a television series that's doing this. Can you talk about what this podcast is?
Yeah, I can talk. Absolutely. And I think everybody should check it out. It's Netflix approached us and they said, we want to do our first narrative podcast. And my initial reaction was honestly like, really honored that they wanted to do that in the Daybreak universe, and honestly apprehensive, because I wanted to do a show that really felt organic to the Daybreak world and didn't want to just have a podcast for the sake of doing a podcast. I listen to a ton of podcasts, whether it's Keep It or Pod Save America or Serial. And so I'm really familiar with the genre, and doing a narrative one, it felt like it had to do something special and something organic. And we and we found a way to do it that really was a bit absurdist, a bit surreal, very Daybreak, that felt an organic way to do a podcast that was set in the Daybreak world. And the basic genesis of it is we're following the AV Club. And the way that they've been able to survive the apocalypse is they set up all the cameras around Glendale, they hook them back up and use them as their survival mechanism. So that, they could see it, like, is our ghoulies coming? Is a horde of marauders coming? They did it for a very, survival-oriented aspect. But then what wound up happening is they used these cameras to watch the same show that we're watching. And so they then have become fans of the same show that is on Netflix. And
wow.
They are doing their fan cast of the show, but it's in a scripted format. So it was a way of us doing our version of a fan podcast, and then in a very surreal type of fashion, the drama of these characters starts taking over the show. So what starts as a Game of Thrones style fan cast or Talking Dead style fan podcast quickly becomes something else entirely.
Very meta. Very meta.
It was a way of kind of us, in the same way that we do this in the show. We mix genres. We talk about point of view all the time. And we skip around from, whether it's Wesley has a samurai episode and Angelica has a Martin Scorsese themed episode. This was a way of taking that same kind of feeling and being able to do, whether it's the serial podcast, do it within our podcast, do our serial episode, be able to do, commentary on all the advertisements that we hear all the time, whether it's Casper Mattress or MailChimp, or even our local NPR pledge drives. There's ways of infusing all of that reality and real life into this podcast that got us really excited.
Well, and yeah, what a fun way to do a little bit of all these different things that you like and actually, poke fun, but pay an homage to them at the same time.
Completely. I mean, I think that's the thing that is wonderful about our shows. Like, we are fans of all the genre. Like, this isn't about making fun of anybody. It's not even about making it. Like, we poke fun at Talking Dead, but we do it because we're fans of Walking Dead. When we talk about Walking Dead, we do it because, like, we know they've established all these rules. We can't be the same as them. So what we're able to do is and we know the audience has watched Walking Dead because we've watched Walking Dead. So it's a way of kind of embracing our audience as one of our own and being like, look, let's all talk about all the various angles of this together so that we can have a more meaningful experience.
Well, and what a great way to keep people, in tune to the show too. Once they binge the whole season, then they've got this coming out to keep them on there. And I got to ask, Daybreak season 2?
We're hopeful.
Okay.
I will say we are currently thinking and writing. We have plans. We have really cool plans. But like any television show, it kind of depends on numbers and audience. And the thing that I will say is really wonderful is I think our audience is really engaging in the show in really meaningful ways, and it's wonderful to watch. And they're also engaging in it everybody has a very, very different opinion about the show and about what they're seeing, and they're debating it. And that's wonderful for our writing staff and for me to be able to see, is being able to say, you get to the end of the series, you're not feeling one thing. Everybody's feeling something very unique and very different. And that's really kind of a different level of engagement than I've ever been able to participate in.
That's so great. Well, congratulations, on this season and the podcast. And I want to encourage everybody to go watch Daybreak on Netflix.
Go watch Daybreak on Netflix.
And Aaron, thank you so much for joining us here on Digital Trends Live. What a great discussion.
Thank you so much for having me. This was awesome.
Fantastic. All right, so there we go. We're talking about Daybreak on Netflix. That was Aaron Colite. So much fun discussing that. So this is what we love to do here on the show. We bring you all kinds of different things, including interviewing, one of the biggest shows on Netflix. That's the creator, the co-creator right here on the show. We have more coming up. We're bringing a drone in studio. Let's up the ante a little bit with some danger. So Drew Prindle is going to be joining us here in studio with the new Mavic Mini drone. We're going to take a look at that. We're going to walk through some of the details on it. If you have questions about that, drop those into the chat on whatever platform you are watching on. We'll be back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live.
Apollo 11, your go for separation.
TV is making history again. The groundbreaking Samsung QLED 8K.
This is Digital Trends Live. Thanks for joining us. Whatever platform you're watching on, drop in your comments and questions, and I bet we're going to have some right now because I'm Greg Nibbler, joined by Drew Prindle, who has something sitting in front of him. It's a drone, and we're going to fly it. I'm just going to say that right now.
Yeah, we are.
Drew, can you walk us through what we've got right here?
Yeah, so this is DJI's newest drone. It's the Mavic Mini. Definitely their smallest drone to date.
Yeah, and this has been making a lot of news because of the fact that it's just slightly under the FAA regulations?
Yes, correct. So it's 249 grams, which puts it just below the 250-gram weight limit that you have to be under according to FAA rules. And if it's over that weight limit, you have to register it with them before you can fly, legally speaking. So like technically, yeah, you can bust it out of the box, whatever drone you have and fly it, but it's not legal if it's over that weight.
So they came just under that. So this thing's out there right now. And is this out on the market yet, or is
yeah,
we have a review?
You can pre-order it right now.
You can pre-order it right now. So let's walk through before we take it out and fly it and see what happens with that. Let's walk through some of the features on it. What makes it pretty unique,
yes.
other than the size?
So it's one of their Mavic drones. So it's got the same design as the previous Mavic drones, which were a lot bigger. It folds out in that really neat way, so it's super compact. It's about the size of like a cell phone in terms of just like length and width. It's a little bit deeper, obviously. It's just light as a feather. Feel that sucker.
Oh yeah, it feels like 249 grams.
Yes.
I had to estimate it. That's
so the problem is like it's super portable, right, and lightweight, and you don't have to register it, so it's easier in that respect.
Yeah.
But in order to get it down to that weight, they had to cut some features.
Right.
Some pretty important ones. The most important one that is missing on this drone is obstacle avoidance, which has been present in pretty much every other DJI drone since like, I don't know, like 2015 or something. But so it's a little bit scary to fly sometimes. Like if you're flying around lots of trees and branches, it's not gonna like let you know like, hey, you're really close and you might crash if you go that way. So there's a little bit of stress added back into the flying experience, I guess.
So they dropped the obstacle avoidance, and again, to get it down to that 249 grams, we'll take a look at some of the flying demonstrations right there. As far as the camera, how did the camera
So the camera is another thing that's a little bit downgraded. It only shoots in a max resolution of 2.7K. So it's like that's kind of like a weird middle ground between 1080p and 4K. I think they did that because this is a step up from their Spark drone, which only shot in 1080p and was also really small.
Okay.
But they also didn't want to just like cannibalize their other drones because if this shot in 4K, why would you buy their nicer drones that?
Gotcha.
You know, yeah.
So it's an intentional, not a weight thing, but just an intentional.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't really see any reason why they couldn't put a 4K camera on here, but honestly, I think they might do something like that in the future. I don't know, maybe wait for a Mavic Mini Plus.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised because if you look closely at these little nostrils right here, that's where the obstacle avoidance systems went on earlier generations.
So you think it's just a software upgrade that they could do? Or?
I think honestly they're gonna come out in like, I don't know, like 6 months or something like that. I would not be surprised if they came out with a Mavic Mini Plus and it had obstacle avoidance and it cost like $100, $150 extra.
That would make sense.
Yeah.
That would make total sense. Well, going to something this small, how's the battery life on it?
It's actually impressively long.
Really?
One of these little batteries in the back here, let me pop it open. This sucker gives it 30 minutes of flying time.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's actually really impressive.
Yeah, seriously. And I think it's just because it's a function of how light it is, right? Like,
yeah.
it doesn't have to hold a lot of weight in the air.
Yeah.
So, yeah, 30 minutes. And I put it to the limit when I was testing it over the weekend, and it really will fly that long.
So where did you take it actually to test it out? Because I'm always curious about that. So behind the scenes, I mean, Drew tests out all of these products and actually goes out and flies these things. What kind of paces do you put it through to test it out?
So I like to fly in like a range of different places. So I was out in Eastern Oregon for this one, and which is nice because there's not a lot of trees out there. It's just kind of like desert. That I did like the range test, flew it as far away in just one direction as I could possibly go before I lost like video transmission signal. Then when I was back here in Portland,
how far was it?
We're inching up on like 2 miles before it started wobbling. So.
Wow.
Yeah, which is impressive because this doesn't have DJI's really nice video transmission system. They have one called OcuSync and one called Lightbridge, and those are what you find in their like high-end systems, and they can transmit 1080p video for like 4 miles. It's some absurd distance. This uses basically enhanced Wi-Fi.
Okay.
So the fact that it can do 2 miles pretty seamlessly is impressive.
That is, yeah, really impressive. So as far as the video monitor, is there anything that you can get back? You said it's not the same as the other ones, but...
Yeah, no, you can get 720p video downlink, and it's with pretty low latency. So you can see what the drone is seeing more or less in real time.
So you take it out, you fly it the distance, you test out Yeah, some of the latency on the video. What are other things that you look at?
Definitely do a hover test. Just let it sit there until the battery dies to see if it can indeed last as long as they say on the box. And I've been super impressed with pretty much every DJI drone that I've tested in the past few years because they don't really inflate their specs. Like if it's written on the box, it's legit.
Well, that's pretty good. I mean, they are at the top of the game. I mean, when it comes to drone manufacturers.
Totally.
Do you have the controller or anything?
I do.
Okay, let's take a look at
So
that.
the controller, like I've got my phone in it right now, but basically it's the same controller that you'll find on other Mavic drones. Super compact. These little joysticks actually like hide up inside of it. The antennas fold down, so it's really the controller is about the same size as the drone, which is amazing. But it's really nice. Definitely don't have to control this drone with your phone with like the virtual controls on your smartphone. That's always like never as accurate or as precise as you want it to be. So I'm really glad that they sent this one out with a controller on it.
So when it comes in the box, this is essentially everything that you're getting?
Yeah,
minus cables.
Yeah, there's also like a really cool little battery charging pack that you can fit 3 of them in, and it will intelligently decide like, hey, that's the one that has the most juice in it, so I'm going to charge that one up first so you can start flying sooner, and then I'll focus on the other ones.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so it's a really, really refined package. Like they have years of experience building, all of their previous drones, and a lot of that knowledge has been baked into this one.
Well, maybe we should try to.
We absolutely should. So it's going to take me a second to power this sucker up.
Well, while we're doing that, while we're powering it up, let's go through the pricing again.
So it's $400.
$400.
Which is dirt cheap for a DJI drone. Like the Spark drone, which was their other small drone that came out a couple years ago, I think, that cost $500 when it came out, and it only had 1080p shooting. So this is one of their cheapest drones, and it's great.
And since it's just under that FAA regulation where you have to register it, what does that mean as far as flying it? Where can you fly it anywhere?
Legally speaking? More or less anywhere. Their DJI, the other cool thing that they do is they have the software built in, and it knows the no-fly zones, like based on GPS. So if you're flying near somewhere that you shouldn't be, it'll just tell you and won't let you fly there. So you really don't have to worry a lot about getting in trouble with the government when you have this drone.
All right, that's good, unless you intentionally disobey that.
Right.
Okay, so let's see here how do you fire it up?
Get this further away from us. So yeah, you fire it up. So we're not going to be able to get a GPS signal in here, so it's probably not going to do great position hold. All right, I'm going to scoot this a little further away.
Whoa, okay.
Don't try this at home.
We're already in trouble here. Okay, let's see what happens. This is why, of note, I'm not allowed to control this, which is probably a good thing. That's a rule. I'm going to back up on there.
There we go. That's pretty good for like no GPS.
That is solid. And it doesn't have any obstacle avoidance. I'm not going to put my hand up there to test that out.
It does have downward sensors, so it can tell where the ground is, but that's really all it is. That'll make it rise up if it senses your hand.
Okay, yeah, I won't do that again. I should stay away from it.
Yeah.
It's actually, the stabilization is really impressive.
Yeah, for indoors, and that's just something you'll find in most of these DJI drones. They are, like, despite the fact that this one is super stripped down, the flying experience is every bit as, like, responsive and tight and athletic as it's ever been in any of their higher end drones. So, yeah, don't be fooled by the low price tag. This thing is still pretty awesome.
No, I kind of want one of those, although I know I would crash it. I don't care. I still kind of want it. All right, anything else that you want to let people know about this? Or any questions, since we are flying this right now, let us know what those questions are.
It's drifting a little bit.
There's so much expensive equipment in here, too. Yeah, so this is the Mavic Mini. Again, what was the price again? You just told me.
$400.
$400. I'm sorry, I can't look away from it because I just keep feeling like it's going to crash into my face.
I won't cut your forehead open.
Yes, thank you.
All right. I should probably land this now,
huh? Well, yeah, do what you want to do. Do what you want to do. I trust that Drew knows what he's doing when it comes to drones, so all right, I feel better now. Here it is. That is the DJI Mavic Mini live here on the show, demonstrating that. Drew's review, it's up right now?
No, it's going up tomorrow.
Going up tomorrow.
Yeah.
So your hands-on review that is going to be up there that everybody can take a look at.
Yes, and it's going to be mostly positive.
This is awesome. We need more drones flying in this studio, the gadgets. This may be the last time.
I honestly don't know if I would.
You didn't crash it.
Yeah, no, that's a victory for the day for sure. But honestly, I don't know if I would try that with anything other than a DJI drone.
All right, well, there it is. And again, thanks everybody for joining us here on Digital Trends Live. Thank you, Drew.
Yeah, always a pleasure.
So awesome. Let's talk about what's coming up, though. We have more that we're going to be talking about. We have Drew Uhr, who's going to be joining the show, the CEO of HomeLight. So talking about real estate, different ways that we can connect buyers with real estate agents and sellers. So we're going to be discussing that. We've got so much more that's all coming up here on Digital Trends Live. So drop in your comments, your questions. Back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live.
Apollo 11, your go for separation.
TV is making history again. The groundbreaking Samsung QLED 8K.
Welcome back to Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler. Thank you for joining us. Take a look at the comment that is up there right now. We are live. In case you didn't know, that was not planned. I did not know that was going to be showing up there. Yes, Keelan, I'm sure somebody is getting a screen cap of that. We just had a drone flying here in studio. But let's move on. Let's talk about cutting-edge technology and different ways that tech and different applications can help ease our lives. And if you've ever bought or sold real estate, it is a complicated, tiresome process that can be really, really challenging for anybody involved in it. And what we're going to be talking about right now is we have Drew Ewer, who's the founder and CEO of HomeLight, developing different ways that we can make that easier. And I'm going to let you explain that. But first off, Drew, thank you so much for joining the show.
Thanks for having me, Greg.
So can you walk us through how this company, why you founded this company, and maybe what some of the problems that you saw in the industry that you wanted to solve?
Sure. So our vision is a world where every single real estate transaction is simple, certain, and satisfying for the buyer or seller. And when I bought my first home several years ago, the process was anything but that. Yeah. And that's really what why I started HomeLight. It felt like the process was opaque. It was confusing, and I consider myself pretty financially savvy. It just felt like everyone else had control than me, whether that be the real estate agent, the mortgage lender, or the title company. The good news is that fast forward to today, and there's all kinds of new and interesting technologies coming out in real estate to help the consumer. And the thing is that there's no company out there helping the consumer kind of figure out that landscape and figure out which solution is right for them. And that's where HomeLight comes in. At HomeLight, we're building what is effectively the Amazon for real estate, where we're actually taking the consumer side and helping them figure out which new real estate technology and which solution is right for them given their needs.
So talking about that from the technology standpoint, what are some of the newer real estate technologies that you're helping people connect with?
Sure. So starting with our core product, which is our agent matching product, this is what we launched back in 2012. We have technology that sifts through home sales data to objectively figure out which real estate agent is best in your market and which real estate agent is right for you, given the agent's actual past performance. So we can match you with an agent who's statistically likely to sell your home faster and for more money based on what they've done in the past. So that's our core product that's been growing since 2012. Earlier this year, we launched our Simple Sale product, which is a product that helps the consumer figure out which cash investor is going to pay the most money for their home. Not sure if you've heard of the iBuying trend, but iBuyers are companies that have popped up that will effectively purchase your home immediately for cash so that you don't have to go through the inconvenience of listing it through a traditional process. That can be, a nice solution for people who are very convenience focused, who don't have the the time to list their home through traditional channels. And our Simple Sale product can help the consumer figure out which of these iBuyers will purchase their purchase their home for the most money.
Well, I mean, just those different options right there. I mean, that's huge if you're going through that process to help line up and match people to the right people. Talking about the real estate agent side, going through that, how do you curate that and where do you obtain the data from?
Sure. So we have data on over 40 million real estate transactions. We have data on 2 million licensed real estate agents. We collect data from hundreds of different sources across the country, and actually compiling it can be a massive challenge. Curating it, cleansing it, and normalizing it. But that's what we've done. And when you put that all together, you get an end result, which is a real estate agent that just produces a fantastic outcome. I definitely saw that when I went through the process. I worked with 2 or 3 agents who they just weren't the right fit, and then when I found the real estate agent who we ended up transacting with, it was like night and day. There's a lot of companies out there trying to kill the real estate agent, a lot of tech companies, and we think that is just not that. We think that makes absolutely no sense when it comes time to transact the most valuable asset of your entire life. For me, at least, it made me feel comfortable. It made me feel powerful that I had someone who really knew what they were doing, that was in my corner, that was going to bat for me.
I agree completely. I mean, you just walking through it in the beginning there between the title company and the lender and all of these different processes, and there's so many different things you have to sign. I mean, if you do buy a home, it feels like you're signing your life away. It's just a giant stack of documents, and it helps to have somebody walk through that.
That's right, and that's actually why we also this year we launched our closing services business, which is effectively a title and escrow business to help walk the consumer and the agent through the closing. So we're doing a lot of innovation there. Also recently this year, we purchased Eve, which is a tech-enabled lender. And the really exciting thing about us now entering the mortgage business, we're also a mortgage company.
Nice.
Is that Eve had technology that dramatically decreases the time and cost associated with originating a mortgage loan. And what that allows us to do is it allows us to fully underwrite the borrower before they even submit an offer on the home. And this allows us to know for certain whether or not we can extend credit to this borrower. Many people will use what's called a pre-approval. They'll get pre-approved before they go ahead and submit an offer, on a home. It turns out pre-approval really doesn't mean anything. It's more of just an estimate of what you can afford. And so oftentimes there's complications and there's gotchas when you're deep in the process, when you're actually in contract. This creates uncertainty for everybody. It creates uncertainty for the buyer, for the seller, for the agents. No one knows whether or not the transaction's actually going to close.
Right.
And that actually happened for my wife and I. We almost lost the home of our dreams to no fault of our own. We had good credit, we had plenty of money down, but our mortgage company just couldn't get their act together and they couldn't close the loan on time. And so we almost lost the home of our dreams, and we had some sort of guarantee up front that they would extend us this loan within a certain period of time. That would have completely changed everything. And it's that type of certainty that HomeLight can now provide to the consumer to really help eliminate friction and eliminate uncertainty in the modern real estate transaction.
I mean, that's incredible right there. Everything you just said is exactly how that process is. It is so frustrating and just not knowing what's going on and depending on somebody else. So to take some of that power back and actually be able to know where you're at is huge. But the other aspect of this too is, I think we even had it below here just a minute ago, disrupting a $165 billion industry. You're disrupting a lot of established industry in the real estate business. How's the feedback been, and where do you see this going in the next couple of years?
Yeah, well, so yes, we're developing game-changing technology that's radically making the process better for the consumer. But we're also not completely eliminating agents from the equation, right? We do believe that top agents are able to provide a lot of value. And look, their role is going to continue to evolve and change. But I don't think a situation where you buy an asset that's 6 figures or even 7 figures without some sort of human advice is the right path anytime soon. The good news is you're absolutely right. It's a massive, massive industry. And what's going on right now in real estate is just super, super interesting, right? We transact $1.8 trillion of residential real estate each year. That's with the T, right? that generates over $100 billion of agent commissions and other home services across mortgage, title and escrow, and everything else. So the actual revenue in the industry is staggering. And prop tech So all of real estate technology companies, the combined revenue of all these companies is something like 2.5 billion. And so we're in the very early innings of what we think is just a long-term change in the way the market works, where eventually we believe that almost every real estate transaction in the United States is going to be facilitated by a technology company in some form or fashion in the next, call it 5 or 10 years.
Wow, so definitely changing. You're at the forefront of this for sure, and expanding rapidly, which is just amazing. I want to know for people out there too, how they can interact and how they can be a part of this.
Sure. So, if you are looking to buy or sell a home, then you can go to homelight.com. Tell us about the type of home you're looking to buy or sell, and we will help provide both, agent recommendations for you. Also, our simple sell product will, connect you to cash investors who may be willing to purchase your home for cash immediately. And we also have partnerships with a lot of other companies that are doing kind of unique and interesting things in the industry, whether it be, equity sharing and allowing you to get some sort of liquidity for your home while allowing you to stay in it. And so like I mentioned, we're kind of like this layer on top of the entire industry, or one objective place you can go to find all of the products in real estate, kind of like the Amazon for real estate.
Well, Drew Ewert, thank you so much for joining us here on the show. Really appreciate it. Congratulations on this process. You're helping make something a lot easier that is very complicated, which is a great use of technology and ingenuity. And thanks for being here on Digital Trends Live.
Thanks for having me, Greg.
All right, so really interesting use. I mean, seriously, the process is so complicated if you've ever gone through it. So anything that can make that process easier and at least more attainable as far as understanding what's going on, great use of tech. I know we need to get to a break because we have some more tech news for you. We've got more coming up. Joining us here in just a little bit, we have Adam Smith as well, who's the advisor at Allied Corp and founder of Tactical Relief. So we're going to be discussing actually cannabis. Cannabis is going to be coming up. We also have some more tech news. So stick around. Back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live.
Apollo 11, your go for separation.
TV is making history again. The groundbreaking Samsung QLED 8K.
Well, hello there. Welcome back to Digital Trends Live. Thank you for joining us. We are live. We're broadcasting live. We can take your comments live. Live, all of that. So whatever platform you're watching on, drop in your comments. And let's talk about some more technology, shall we? So here's some things I need to bring you up to date on. Number one, UPS is delivering drugs via drone. Prescription drugs. And let's talk about this. It's something that they've been bringing up for a while. They have their UPS Flight Forward plan that they have been discussing for quite a while, something that they were approved by with the FAA as far as creating essentially a drone airline. And now they're actually doing it. They partnered up with CVS to deliver prescription drugs. And there's a big reason for that. This is something that we see a lot of the different drone delivery companies, since we're at the advent of all of this, working with, is delivering medical supplies, medical technology. You see it working on certain hospitals are utilizing it even to fly organs from one section of a hospital to another. Say if it's on a hill, they don't have to drive something around, they can go directly there. Really important, timely things. So for the drug delivery side of things, for CVS, what they're talking about is prescription drugs mainly for people who aren't who say it's somebody who's not mobile, not able to get down to the pharmacy to pick up their pills. This would be something that they could get it to them very quickly. So the demonstration that they had, then this is what they're running right now, is the drone flies over and it hovers about 20 feet above the property, and then will drop down. Now, one of the other things that UPS actually put forward, this is something else. This is actually what they're talking about with here is a demonstration of another way that they could do it as far as the drone delivery. Right now, they're not utilizing this, but this was an idea they had where they would have a specially designed truck that would park in a neighborhood, and then the drones would disperse from that. So again, this one's more of a prototype, but that idea of it, of where they could get it out into a specific area and then have the drones take off from the mothership essentially and deliver out to a certain area would be still utilizing a driver, but it would save so much time as far as driving around to each separate property. So that you would have the drones just disperse. That's going forward, possibly the future of it. But right now, what they're doing, they've done a couple of different deliveries of these drone pharmaceutical deliveries to different people, and it seems like the response has been pretty good to it. I want to know what people think. Are you excited about this kind of delivery? I mean, we are going to see it more and more. UPS is approved. Wing, which is Google's company, they're approved in certain areas to start doing some deliveries. So we're going to see more. Uber, I'm sure, is going to do it. Amazon's going to do it. Everybody's going to be doing it. You're going to see so many drones. But that's what's coming up right now. So UPS definitely at the forefront. You can check that out at digitaltrends.com. So let's go to another couple of trending stories here before we go to a break. And we'll keep on talking about drones. So this is something that's actually more of a study right now, but it's a development that a university is working on. It's the Western Polytechnic Institute in Massachusetts. That's a mouthful. So what they're working on, though, is a way to help solve some of the issues of landmines around the world. Now, if you follow along with this, landmines are a huge problem. There are a ton of them in all kinds of different rural areas, and they're very, very difficult to dispose of, clearly. So once a battle is over, you have all these landmines left over. They're very dangerous. Millions of people can be hurt by these in certain areas, and roughly 20,000 people are actually maimed or killed due to landmines. So it's a very important thing to figure out how to accurately demine a field. What they've worked out is using an autonomous robot paired up with a buddy drone and figuring out this kind of system to handle it. So it's safe. You don't have anybody going out there. This robot right there, so you're taking a look at it. It's got a scanner on it. This thing's autonomous. It would go out into a field, move very slowly, clearly, scan, and figure out where a landmine is. Once it figures it out, it actually marks that territory with a GPS-specific location, and then the drone comes out with a bag of sand to set it on top of that drone to demine it, or actually deactivate it, excuse me, and then they're able to safely and securely remove the mine. Pretty unique process. So that robot right there is a ClearPath Husky A100 rover. So they didn't build that themselves. They actually took that and then built upon it. So that's an actual rover that you can buy that's on the market currently. So they did that, added on this drone scanning equipment. And then, yeah, pairing up with the drone itself, they said it could be completely autonomous. The only side of it that wouldn't be autonomous is just loading up the drones with the sandbags. That's the only thing that a human would have to do. Otherwise, this handles it all on its own. So pretty incredible on just using robotics in order to solve a real huge issue worldwide. So that's what they're working on right now. Again, it's pairing up a drone with an autonomous robot to remove mines. That's a good use of robotics. So I look forward to seeing more of that and seeing some of these really unique and innovative ways that we can incorporate robotics into help, not only help people's lives, but in some cases save lives. So you can check out more about that at digitaltrends.com. Final thing we're going to bring up here before we go to a break is we're going to talk about power. So alternative forms of energy are certainly something that we are all looking for, and there's a lot of different use cases for this, solar power being one of the big ones. The problem is you can only get so much power on Earth, right? You need a huge field for it. The solar power, the panels themselves have to be equipped to able to gather a lot of it, and it takes a lot of space, quite honestly. So it's certainly something that's a big part of our future power solutions, but there's also another way we could do it, and that's if we could collect solar power from space. That is what the Air Force is working on. So this is a proposal that they have, a plan they're going to do to send up satellites, solar collecting satellites. So there's kind of an example right there. Taking a look at it with these giant solar panels. You could have huge solar panels out in space, and then gathering that power and beaming it back to Earth. This idea is not something that's new from them. It's something that a lot of people have been wanting to do, but this is something that they are actually really going forward with. So it's called the Space Solar Power Incremental Demonstration and Research Project. Again, a mouthful right there. It's a $100 million partnership between the Air Force and a defense contractor. And they would want to beam this energy back via radio waves. And since it's the Air Force, they're talking about military uses where you could have a forward-facing operation, but getting power and getting oil and getting gas and fuel to these forward operations is very difficult. This would be able to, in theory, just beam the power to them wherever they are. So you have an encampment that's far out in the middle of nowhere, and getting supplies to them, at least, well, you still have to get supplies, but getting fuel to them is very difficult. This would actually just beam the power to them, in theory, if it works. It hasn't been tested out yet. We're going to see where it goes, but clearly, if it works for that, you could also see this being utilized for rural locations. Anywhere that would need power, in theory, you could just have power beamed down to you. That's pretty amazing if it's able to be successful. Still very early phases, but something I figured you'd want to know about. So you can check more about that at digitaltrends.com. All right, here's what's coming up. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about cannabis. Joining us, we have Adam Smith, who's going to be talking about different ways that they are from Tactical Relief. I want to make sure I got the company right. Tactical Relief, and talking about integrated cannabis production and different ways that that's being utilized right now. So a lot to talk about with that. If you have questions, drop those into the chat on whatever platform you are on. We'll be back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live.
Apollo 11, your go for separation.
TV is making history again. The groundbreaking Samsung QLED 8K.
Welcome back to Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler. Thanks for joining us. And we broadcast live here every weekday, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, bringing you tech headlines, news, interviews, and discussions. And we do like to talk about ways that tech or solutions, scientific solutions, can help people out. And certainly millions of people suffer from PTSD. This is a huge issue, and a lot of it is military veterans who are suffering from that as well. And right now we're going to talk about some possible solutions to help those people out. To do that, we have Adam Smith from Tactical Relief, founder of Tactical Relief, joining us right now. Thank you so much for being here on the show.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having us.
Adam, I wondered if you could walk us all through kind of your story and your history, and then we'll get into leading up to what Tactical Relief does, but a little bit of your background for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll give you the Cliff Notes version. So
okay.
I spent almost 17 years in the Army and nearly 10 years as a Green Beret in U.S. Army Special Forces. When I started my transition to get out of the military, I found it really hard because I didn't have a mission and purpose. And so suffering from past demons, not having a mission and purpose, I found myself on a Wednesday morning, actually, really drunk. I drank every ounce of alcohol we had in the house. I wrote my suicide note, put a pistol in my mouth, and that was January 2016. I was really rescued from that place by a good friend of mine who gave me mission and purpose, and he helped me realize that I could redefine it. And so I started training military and law enforcement for some time after that, and then transitioned into CBD products, understanding that we all have a choice on how we make things happen in our life, and we get to choose our purpose and mission. I had a chance to really define my impact. And so understanding the tech space and understanding how technology and science is really helping change the way we treat post-traumatic stress and traumatic brain injury, I really wanted to make it my purpose to help step into that space and break the stigma around utilizing hemp-derived products and help spread this message of the science behind how the endocannabinoid system works and how CBD and other cannabinoids impact the endocannabinoid system. I know those are crazy big words, but
no, it makes sense. Yeah, I mean, what an incredibly heart-wrenching situation. Clearly, what you were going through, and I'm so glad, obviously, that things changed. But this is an issue that a lot of people are suffering from with this PTSD, and understanding that and understanding how to get out of that situation and make that transition in life. So. And wonderful on that end, as far as what you're doing to help those people out. That stigma that you brought up when it comes to cannabis products, that is something that is just, it's changing. I feel like it's changing a lot, but it's still there to some extent. Let's walk through some of the things that you've been able to do to help relieve some of that stigma that's associated with it.
Yeah, so one of the first things that I ended up doing was understanding really, and I say this mission and purpose, but mission and purpose is so important to people from the military, law enforcement, first responders in general, because really mission and purpose gives us a target to constantly go after. And one of the problems that we run into is because someone else has always defined our mission and purpose, we never really truly understood that we had control over defining mission and purpose. So that transition, redefining mission and purpose, was a huge step in the right direction for me. But then also realizing that holistic treatment methodologies were way better with regards to how it helped me come out of that negative place, that dark place, than it was to just medicate away symptoms. And that's some of the big stuff. Right now, the current process is just medicating symptoms away. But I found that through physical fitness, and the studies really support this as well, physical fitness, direct exposure to sunlight every single day, meditation every single day, a connection to a tribe of like-minded individuals. And by that, I mean people who understand and also support you in your recovery process to step away from that place of just hopelessness and helplessness. All of these things have helped a lot. A daily routine, defining my own mission and purpose, everything sort of comes together in one big package to help transition people out of that dark space. I think the biggest thing is that people have to realize they have a choice. And I think that was the thing that helped me really make the biggest difference, was the fact that I have a choice. I can choose to allow myself to continue to be a victim and victimize myself by not dealing with past demons and suppressing them with alcohol or crap ton of medications. Or I can choose to change the way I treat myself and change the way I accept that part of me in my life. And so by realizing that post-traumatic stress is not permanent, right? Bad experiences and trauma never go away. But how your body physiologically responds to external stimuli can change if you're willing to choose to take the steps to make it change. It just takes a lot of hard work.
Well, and taking that multifaceted approach like you brought up and changing that physiological aspect of it. I mean, that's huge in understanding that. And let's talk about CBD in particular. And can you give everybody just the real quick, you gave Cliff Notes earlier, but the Cliff Notes version of what CBD is, just to explain that?
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, it's all the CBD itself, that particular compound is only one compound that's found in hemp plants. And so you've got cannabinoids and terpenes that are found inside of all cannabis plants, cannabis being the hierarchy of the family. And the way it interacts with your body is you and your body have what's called the endocannabinoid system. And you have two different types of endocannabinoid receptors that directly interact with your nervous system. And believe it or not, what's kind of crazy is that you produce, naturally, every single person produces cannabinoids in their own body. So what CBD and the other compounds in the plant do is interact with those cannabinoid receptors and help promote healthy neurocellular regeneration and functioning. That's the reason why there are so many right now claims made by people who have used CBD that says that, hey, it lowers my anxiety. It helps me relieve myself from chronic pain. I sleep better at night. It helps me with my migraines. All of those things have neurological connotations with regards to how they impact the body. So by using a product that directly impacts your neurosystem, it can help with those issues. That's the Cliff Notes version of how it really functions and sort of what it is.
I mean, that's great. That explains it perfectly as far as what's going on with it. Now, talking about tactical relief. So let's talk about forming that and what exactly the company does, what your products are, and how you curate those.
So Tactical Relief was formed originally as part of a subsidiary of a parent company, and it still is that. And it all started sort of on a napkin over a couple of glasses of bourbon with a couple of dudes in Canada. And
as all good stories do.
That's exactly right. It starts really well with mapping it out on a napkin. They called me in and asked me if I could be part of the company with regards to setting up the American, all the U.S. actions that we wanted to take as a company. And so the principal mission behind the company was like, hey, we want to create impact in this space for people who need it the most and who we personally identify with. So that's the mission behind Tactical Relief, is to break the stigma and help bring a holistic treatment methodology to veterans and first responders throughout the entirety of the United States. The other part of that too is, my background. I spent almost 17 years in the Army and nearly 10 years in the special operations community. We speak a different language. And so part of breaking the stigma is us to speak to our tribe, speak to those people who are going to identify with us and identify with the product and help break the stigma down. Here's the thing. The stigma in the military and law enforcement and first responders across the United States when it comes to hemp-derived products or cannabis products is hardcore. I mean, hell, we've been part of the war on drugs for a very long period of time, especially in Central and South America. So breaking that stigma is a challenge, but the benefit behind it is that the more we get the message out there, the more impact we create inside that market space.
Which is so important when it comes down to that. So as far as Tactical Relief right now, let's talk about what the product is, because I see that it looks like you have some right there, and where that's available. How can people get it and use it?
So Tactical Relief right now, we have 1,000 milligram tincture oil that's in a 1 ounce bottle. It's called Liberty. And currently you can find it through e-commerce at www.tacticalrelief.com. You can also see our mission and purpose there as well. We're in the process right now of coming out with 6 more SKUs, so 6 more products we're going to bring to market, which are going to be a higher concentration of tinctures as well as gummy bears called Ranger Candy, and then a couple of ointments that you can put on for sore muscles or to help you sleep at night. And everything really revolves around that message, right? Everything revolves around the message of market space identity, and driving e-commerce in this new technologically savvy world is one of the greatest ways for us to create the outreach process that we want to create to expand the market space.
Well, I think you're right. I mean, everything's changing so fast, this technologically savvy world like you were talking about, and breaking down these old stigmas is so important to help people out, which is clearly what you're doing. And, thank you for doing the work. Thank you for doing this, to help people out. It's definitely appreciated.
Well, I'm really grateful for you having us on, and I'm really grateful for an opportunity to get a chance to speak to the mission. What you guys are doing by allowing people like me to share this message and bringing on people with a similar experience is actively taking part in breaking down the stigma. You guys play a huge role in that. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you very much for joining us here. We appreciate it a lot, and thanks for being here on Digital Trends Live today.
Yeah, thank you. Have an awesome day.
You too. All right, so really fascinating right there, right? This is what we get to do with this show. We get to talk about different things, and as Adam said, we talk to different people, different walks of life, different stories, and that's what we bring you here every single day with Digital Trends Live, and we thank everybody who joins us. Let's talk about what's coming up tomorrow. So let me take a look at my list here. We've got from Stanford University, we have Regen Villages, which is a company building future of living in regenerative and resilient communities around critical life support systems of food, water, energy, and circular waste at the neighborhood scale. That's a lot that I just said right there, but we're going to be talking to them tomorrow. They'll be able to explain it a lot better than I can. We have James Ehrlich, who's the founder of that, who's going to be joining. We also have Chris Brickler from Mind VR, the CEO and founder of that. Mind VR is a national health and wellness company providing virtual reality solutions to assisted living groups and veteran homes. So really cool use of technology. That's another one where VR is being utilized to actually help out a lot of people. We've seen some really great studies when it comes down to that. So all of that is coming up on tomorrow's show because we're here every single weekday, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, bringing you tech headlines, news, interviews, discussions, and more. And I want to say thank you to everybody who's joined us today. We'll be back tomorrow with more Digital Trends Live.